I've realized recently that I'm afraid, and I realized how afraid I am. And I was caught up not knowing if I was afraid to die, meaning the shortness of my own life and making sure that I live properly while I'm here. But I've realized that it really wasn't that. It's mainly, it is that, but it's mainly the fear of living. I'm afraid to live. And it's not as though there's anything specific that I'm afraid of in life, except for absolute failure. And I don't mean failure in regards to achievements, success, and things like that, but more so not betraying my past self, not betraying my future self, not betraying God. And I used to think that being naked in the Bible meant you were vulnerable and you were at risk of predators, whether that be animals or other human beings. And it is that, but it's also insecurity. I'm insecure of my flaws. I'm a flawed man, a deeply, deeply flawed man, and I don't know how to live properly. Well, I do know how to live properly, but I'm inherently corrupt. I have corruption inside of me, and I don't want to let this life and this opportunity pass me by having done the wrong thing, and that too is part of the issue. And so, one of the things I've been caught up with recently is the fact that I need to get success and I need to get achievements and I need to make progress in my life. And that's what I've aimed for a long time. And that's what I've been trying to do. And the goals that I aim for change. Basically, I just think about it in terms of wanting to be in a better spot tomorrow than where I'm at today. But that's not ideal. In moments of absolute clear thought, you realize that that's not actually what matters. What matters more than that is you have this time on your hands. If I were to grow old and look back on the life that I've lived so far, and I was an old man and I'd never learned how to properly enjoy the experiences that I have and the life that I live because I was so caught up on everything that I could achieve, then it would all be for none. There'd be no reason why I was ultimately doing anything that I'm doing. So I'm afraid. I'm afraid to live. I'm afraid to die. I'm horrified. But I do know that there is a day ahead. I'm certain about that. And so we left off last time with Noah and his family, and they got into the ark, and God alluded to a new covenant that was going to be made with Abraham. And the reason why they had to get into the ark is because of the flooding of the earth, obviously. And the reason why the earth got flooded was because of corruption in their soul. And ultimately, the spirit of Cain, who betrayed his ideal, which was his little brother Abel. And the reason why he did that is because his parents had eaten from the tree of good and evil. And they put that into motion. Cain took it multiple steps further. Cain gets cursed by God. Human beings take that corruption to a new level. Cain's the people who Cain birthed 7 generations later does the same crime that Cain commits, but worse. And it's so bad that he gets a 7-fold punishment. So his forefather Cain he gets a 77-fold punishment. Cain got a 7-fold punishment. His I can't think of what that's called. Ancestor is somebody that's way, way older than you. Your person or just call it your generations. So somebody way below him in his generations did an even worse crime. So the problem just keeps continuing. And now we get to this spot where God's fed up and he says, my spirit can no longer walk with man. There's too much corruption. My spirit can no longer walk with man. And so he decides to flood the earth. And he tells Noah, he finds one man who walks with God, who walks with him, and is still faithful. And so he tells Noah to build an ark and tells him to get into that ark and bring 2 of every animal, 1 male and 1 female, and then also his sons and his sons' wives. And so the rain starts, the flood comes, they're in their ark, and then they stay in there for 40 days. And now here we are. We are at the renewal. We are at the time of renewal. So that was Genesis chapter 7 is where we ended off. Now we are transitioning to the new world, Genesis chapter 8. And it goes, after this is not reading it yet, still context, the flood is still actively going on. They're still in the ark right now. And it starts off with, and God remembered Noah and every living thing and all the cattle that was with him in the ark. And God made a wind to pass over the earth, and the waters assuaged. The fountains also of the deep and the windows of the heaven were stopped, and the rain from heaven was restrained. And the waters returned from the earth continually. And after the end of the 150 days, the waters were abated. And the ark rested in the 7th month, on the 17th day of the month, upon the mountains of Ararat. And the waters decreased continually until the 10th month. In the 10th month, on the 1st day of the month, were the tops of the mountain seen. And it came to pass at the end of the 40 days that Noah opened the window of the ark which he had made. And he sent forth a raven, which went forth to and fro until the waters were dried up off the earth. Also, he sent forth a dove from him to see if the waters were abated off the face of the ground. There it is. But the dove found no rest for the sole of her foot, and she returned unto him into the ark. For the waters were on the face of the whole earth. Then he put forth his hand, and he took her and pulled her in unto him into the ark. So he sends out a raven to see if the floods have passed, and the raven sees that everything was still dried up. Then he sends out a dove. The dove doesn't have anywhere to land, and so there's still just water over the whole earth. And so the dove comes back to him. And he stayed yet another 7 days. And again he set forth the dove out of the ark. And the dove came into him in the evening, and lo, in her mouth was an olive leaf. Pluck it off. So Noah knew that the waters were abated from off the earth. So now the dove came back with an olive leaf, and that shows him that the waters are now gone. And he stayed yet another 7 days and sent forth the dove, which returned not again unto him anymore. So he sends the dove out, and this time the dove does not come back, and that tells him we're good. And in the 2nd month, on the 7th and 20th day of the month, was the earth dried. And God spake unto Noah, saying, Go forth of the ark, thou and thy wife and thy sons wives with thee. Bring forth with thee every cattle that is up with thee, of all flesh, both of fowl and of cattle, and of every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth, that they may breed abundantly in the earth, and be fruitful and multiply upon the earth. And Noah went forth, and his sons and his wife, and his sons' wives with him, every beast, every creeping thing, and every fowl, and whatsoever creepeth upon the earth, after their kinds went forth out of the ark. And Noah built an altar unto the Lord, and took of every clean beast, and of every clean fowl, and offered burnt offerings on the altar. So they've left the ark now, and every living thing that went into the ark with him has now come out. And so Noah has been the seed in the ark that is going to repopulate the earth with his self and his own humanity, but then also the animals. But it's interesting that the very first thing that he does after he leaves the ark is build an altar. So, and Noah went forth, and his sons and his wife's sons with him. Every beast, every creeping thing, and every fowl whatsoever creepeth upon the earth after their kinds went forth out of the ark. So all the animals leave the ark, and Noah then leaves an ark, and Noah built an altar unto the Lord, and took of every clean beast and of every clean fowl, and offered burnt offerings on the altar. So it's interesting that with what happened with Cain did not have faith. And so if we think back to the Cain and Abel story, humanity was forced to work. And they were forced to work because it was Cain's parents, Adam and Eve. So he can be resentful at his parents, or he can work and do what God has requested / demanded of him, or he can not do it at all, or he can do it in a half-hearted way. And Cain did it in a half-hearted way, which alludes to the fact that he doesn't have faith that there is a reason that he should work. So that happened a while ago. So Cain didn't have faith. He was, quote unquote, working, but without good works, without attention to detail. He was a plower of the land, but he wasn't doing it to the best of his ability. And then you got Abel, who, when he works, he sacrifices to God, and he gives him the best sacrifices that he possibly can. And then Cain's life deteriorates, his mindset deteriorates to the point where he kills his brother Abel, and Abel is his ideal, meaning better than him under the eyes of the Lord. And because of that, Cain was cursed. And then all of humanity was cursed. So that's how we got to this place to begin with. And so it's interesting that the very first thing Noah would do after he leaves the ark is build an altar. There's an idea in the New Testament, after Christ gets baptized, he goes into the wilderness for 40 days and 40 nights. And as he does that, he gets tempted after fasting. And as Satan's tempting him, the very first there's 3 temptations, and one of them is, after fasting for 40 days and 40 nights, he says, if you are truly the Son of God, turn this stone into bread. So Satan tempts him to turn a stone into bread, and Christ responds with, men live not by bread alone, but rather from every word that flows from the mouth of God. So he gets tempted with food, and Christ responds that food isn't necessarily what's most important, but rather you don't live by food. Your body will stay alive if you eat food, but more important than your body is your spirit, and your spirit's fulfilled with the word of God. And so that's a similar thing that's happening here with Noah, where the very first thing that he does isn't to take care of creature pleasures like building his house now in the new earth and finding land and maybe building a farm and things like that. But the very first thing that he does is build an altar. And so it's that same idea of men live not by bread alone, but from every word that comes from the mouth of God. And it's also the idea in the Sermon on the Mount where Christ says something along the lines of, if God treats these birds and the animals of the earth well and allows them to live, he loves you more than he loves them. So why would he not take care of all of that? If those animals get to eat and live and they're taken care of, why would you not be taken care of? And so don't worry about creature comforts. Don't worry about trivial pleasures. Don't worry about trivial survival things. Go to heaven. Build your altar and go to heaven. And so going forward now, and the Lord smelled a sweet savor. And the Lord said in his heart, I would not again curse the ground anymore for man's sake, for the imagination of man's heart is evil from his youth. Neither will I again smite any more every living thing as I have done. While the earth remaineth, seed time and harvest and cold and heat, and summer and winter and day and night shall not cease. So now there's been a change in the way that God is treating human beings. Again, Cain, the spirit of Cain is on earth. Sin and the original sin has happened, can't take it back. But then look what that does to humanity. Humans were initially born good. They were born purely good. But they opened up Pandora's box, which is the apple of good and evil. And then they start to behave evil, and they start to behave in a corrupt way. And so God's saying that human beings are corrupt from their youth. And so earlier in Genesis, he says that my spirit can't even walk with these people anymore. Human beings are so corrupt, my spirit can't even walk with these people anymore. Or I won't allow it. I'll just do anything else, but I'm not going to walk with these people. And so that was his attitude before the flood. And now his attitude has changed a little bit. It's more the approach of Cain and that spirit brought about evil onto earth. And so there's good on earth, yes, but there's also evil on earth. And so if you are a child with a unperfect parent and your parent treats you in a way, imagine a child who imagine your parents are raise you in a small apartment building, and you've got 7 brothers and sisters, and they can't scrape pennies together to feed themselves fully, and certainly not even you. And so what happens at the end of the week is they're waiting for the check. They're waiting for money. Maybe they do work and they're waiting for money. And so they run out of money because earlier in the week, maybe they spend it on alcohol, liquor, what have you. And so at the end of the week, they don't have money for a big space, meaning if you're in a small space with people, there's going to be more fights and things like that. So they don't have money for a big space. They don't have time to raise you properly. And then their life is miserable because their own parents' life were miserable. And so they get into a pattern of drinking and trying to escape. And then you become 13, 14, 15, 16 years old, and you too try to escape. And then you're out in the street corner and you are beating your wife and you are doing what you saw your own dad do. And so people get into a habit of, obviously, you literally follow your parents raise you. And so if you have parents it doesn't even have to be that grandiose where you're raised in a studio apartment with 7 brothers and sisters, and they're both alcoholics, and your dad beats your mom and things like that. It doesn't even need to be that horrible, but just the fact of being imperfect. If your parents are imperfect, how could you yourself hope to be imperfect? And so God changes his approach and his attitude towards humans. And he says, yes, they are corrupt, but I'm not going to flood the earth again, because essentially at this point, they need to get better through their days and they need to work on themselves as an individual. But a lot of what's happening here is now out of their control for anybody who's born because of what was brought into the earth. And so there's mercy. So now we have mercy. All right, going forward. Genesis chapter 9. And God blessed Noah and his sons and said unto them, be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth. And the fear of you and the dread of you shall be upon every beast of the earth, and upon every fowl of the air, upon all that moveth upon the earth, and upon all the fishes of the sea. Into your hand are they delivered. Every moving thing that liveth shall be meat for you, even as the green herb that I have given you all things. So all the plants and the animals are food for humans. But flesh with the life thereof, which is the blood thereof, shall ye not eat. And surely your blood of your lives will I require. At the hand of every beast will I require it. And at the hand of man, at the hand of every man's brother, will I require the life of man. So there's the idea of an eye for an eye. If a human being takes a life, then I need blood, is what he's saying. If a human being takes a life, then that human being's life is also going to get taken, and it will be taken by another man. Whoso sheddeth man's blood, by man shall his blood be shed. For in the image of God made he man. And you, be ye fruitful and multiply. Bring forth abundantly in the earth and multiply therein. God spoke unto Noah and to his sons with him, saying, and I, behold, I establish my covenant with you and with your seed after you. So he's going about the covenant now. He's starting the covenant. And with every living creature that is with you, of the fowl, of the cattle, and every beast of the earth, from all that go out of the ark to every beast of the earth. And God said, this is the token of the covenant which I make between me and you and every living creature that is with you for perpetual generations. And I missed the 11th, but it says basically just saying that he's not going to flood earth again. And then 13, I do set my bow in the cloud, and it shall be for a token of a covenant between me and the earth. And it shall come to pass when I bring a cloud over the earth that the bow shall be seen in the cloud. And I will remember my covenant, which is between me and you and every living creature of all flesh. And the water shall no more become a flood to destroy all flesh. So now the water isn't harmful. It's not a flood anymore. It's the life source. And the bow shall be in the cloud, and I will look upon it, that I may remember the everlasting covenant between God and every living creature of all flesh that it is upon the earth. And God said unto Noah, this is the token of the covenant which I have established between me and all the flesh that is upon the earth. And the sons of Noah that went forth of the ark were Shem and Ham and Japheth. And Ham is the father of Canaan. These are the three sons of Noah, and of them the whole earth overspread. And Noah began to be a husbandman, and he planted a vineyard. All right, so this part's very interesting. And Noah began to be a husbandman, and he planted a vineyard. And he drank of the wine and was drunken, and he was uncovered within his tent. And Ham, the father of Canaan, saw the nakedness of his father, and he told his two brethren without. And Shem and Japheth took a garment and laid it upon their shoulders, and went backwards and covered the nakedness of their father. And their faces were backwards, and they saw not their father's nakedness. And Noah awoke from his wine, and he knew what his younger son had done unto him. And he said, cursed be Canaan. A servant of servants shall be unto his brethren. And he said, blessed be the Lord God of Shem, and Canaan shall be his servant. God shall enlarge Japheth, and he shall dwell in the tents of Shem. and Canaan shall be his servant. And Noah lived in the flood 350 years, and all the days of Noah were 950 years, and he died. So Noah got a full life. So Noah lives 950 years. So that's extremely positive. But this part of the story is very weird. It's weird because I remember the first time I read this, or years and years ago, I started to I read the Bible when I was young, not all of it, but a lot of it. And then years ago I started to, when I was older, started to analyze it and try to break it down and understand it more and hear other people's points of view on it. And somebody that I heard called, and actually a lot, you can find it all over the internet, but somebody said that this is a sexual act of Ham. So to go back to the context, Noah plants a vineyard, and then he obviously makes some wine out of his vineyard, and he gets drunk. So he's lived a whole life, and he walks with God. So he's now retired, and he's planting a vineyard, and he gets drunk on wine, and he's naked and drunk in his tent, basically. And then Ham, his youngest son, the father of Canaan, saw the nakedness of his father and told his two brethren without. And Shem and Japheth took a garment and laid it upon their shoulders and went backwards and covered the nakedness of their father, and their faces were backward, and they saw not their father's nakedness. So I'll say first of what I've seen other people perceive that to be, and I'll say what I perceive that to be. A lot of people, a surprising amount of people, say that and Ham, the father of Canaan, saw the nakedness of his father and told his two brethren without. A lot of people perceive that sentence as Ham, the youngest son, sexually abusing Noah. And so they're getting it because they're saying that saw the nakedness of his father and told his two brethren without. And I even looked back into the translation of what it was in Greek without all the grammar to it right here. And that just doesn't really make any sense whatsoever. So a vineyard, and he planted of the soil a man, Noah, and he began. This is the translation. His tent within, and he was uncovered and became drunk. The wine, and he drank. His brothers, his brothers too, and he told of his father the nakedness of Canaan, the father, Ham, and Saul outside. Of the two of them, the shoulders on, and laid it on, and laid a garment in Japheth, Shem, but took backward in their faces of their father the nakedness, and covered backwards and went. So people are perceiving the nakedness of the father as some sort of sexual act with Noah, or sexual abuse or something, but that's not what I'm getting at all, because Adam covers his nakedness earlier in the Bible. And to go full circle, that's what I was talking about at the beginning, is that it's tough to live a life because I'm so flawed. I'm so flawed in my actions, my speech, and even my thought. Truly. I myself, me specifically as a human being, am very flawed. So I feel naked. And in my nakedness, I want to hide. I don't want to reveal my true self to other people. I don't want to reveal, oh, I've done this. Oh, I think like this. Oh, I talk like this. And it's not even that bad, but it's like, it's not perfect. And then the further that it gets away from perfect, the more painful that it is to be that type of person. And so I perceive this as um, Ham is, you could say Ham is trying to take advantage of his father, but I would say it more so in terms of Noah's a good man, clearly. And Noah walks with God. So much so that God has essentially given Noah authority over the earth. Every human being now will come from Noah. And so Ham sees that, and he sees an opportunity because Noah is drunk, his father's drunk, and he takes that opportunity to go show his brothers. He's like, "Hey, Japheth and Shem, come in here and look what I found." And then they go in there and they're like, "Oh, look at this idiot. He's in here drunk and naked, and he thought it'd be cool to do a vineyard, and then he just drinks too much wine, and now he's just sitting here drunk and passed out." And then that could escalate to, "Hey, let's take over his empire. Let's hey, Shem and Japheth, you and I, let's us take over the empire. This guy's old, he's played out." So basically what I'm getting at is he's disrespecting him, is what Ham is doing. He's disrespecting him in the sense of Noah is caught in this one moment. Noah walked with God so much so that God saved the earth and used him as a seed to populate the whole earth. But now Ham has caught him in a vulnerable moment where he's drunk. And so again, humans aren't perfect. So why would you take advantage of somebody just because they're in one moment of vulnerability? And then Ham's laughing about it essentially is what I won't say he's laughing about it because it's not said there, so that doesn't make sense. But Ham's trying to take advantage of it, and he tells his brothers, and rather than respond the same way that Ham responds, they take a blanket and they guard their father's nakedness. And so they're like, "All right, we know this guy. It's all right. He's done what he's done here, but rather than let him be shown to other people and let his flaws be put on display to be ridiculed by the whole village, we're gonna rectify this situation by shielding him with a blanket." And so in Shem and Japheth, going forward again, Shem and Japheth took a garment and laid it upon both their shoulders and went backward and covered the nakedness of their father. And the faces were backward, and they saw not their father's nakedness. So again, they're using a blanket to cover him, and they are even looking forward. So they're not even going to try to take advantage of the situation he's in. And they don't want to, I mean, again, he literally just saved the whole earth in an ark. They don't want to taint their perception of him just because they see him drunk in this one moment. So they're looking forward. And Noah awoke from his wine, and he knew what his younger son had done to him. And he said, "Cursed be Canaan. Cursed be Canaan." That's a bad name. If your name starts with Cain, it's a bad name. And he said, "Cursed be Canaan. A servant of servants shall he be unto his brethren." And he said, "Blessed be the Lord God of Shem, and Canaan shall be his servant. God shall enlarge Japheth, and he shall dwell in the tents of Shem, and Canaan shall be his servant." And Noah lived after the flood 350 years, and all the days of Noah were 950 years, and he had died. So because of what Ham's again trying to take advantage of, Ham doesn't want to do what's right. Ham wants to inherit the power that Noah just got from building the ark and saving the earth. And now Noah wants to be in charge, or Ham wants to be in charge. Ham wants to indulge in power and worldly pleasures. And so when Noah wakes up, he himself curses him, similar to what happened to Cain via God earlier on. And he says that you're going to work you're the youngest brother, And so again, Ham's son is Canaan. And he says, you're going to work for, your son Canaan is going to work for Shem's bloodline. So Shem's bloodline is going to rule over Ham's bloodline because you're obviously the seed of the corruption right now, Ham. And it's interesting. One idea with that as well that I saw the other day that's an interesting idea is that I saw somebody said or wrote something that was along the lines of, if you spoil your kids, you'll have to raise your grandkids. If you spoil your kids, you're going to have to raise your grandkids. If you raise your kids, then you can spoil your grandkids. So there's a way to go about things. And because of what has happened here, Ham is not a righteous man by any means, and he's not a just man. Or there's not enough context to say that. He doesn't walk with God. He doesn't sacrifice properly, certainly, and he doesn't walk with God properly. And so now he's cursed, and through his son Ham, or Canaan. Ham's son Canaan is cursed because of what Ham did, and so now his generations are going to be cursed. All right, onward. Now these are the generations of the son of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And unto them were sons born after the flood, the sons of Japheth, Gomer, Magog, and Madai, and Javan, and Tubal, and Meshach, and Tiras, and the sons of Gomer, Ashkenaz, and Riphath, and Togarmah, and the sons of Javan, Elisha, and Tarshish, and Kittim, and Dodanim. By these were the isles of the Gentiles, divided in their lands, everyone after his tongue, after their families and their nations. And the sons of Ham, Cush, Mizraim, and Phut, and Canaan. And the sons of Cush, Seba, Havilah, Sabta, Rama, Sabtecha. And the sons of Rama, Sheba, and Dedan. All right, I'm not going to read all these names. He was a mighty hunter. Last one. And Cush begot Nimrod, and he began to be a mighty one in the earth. He was a mighty hunter before the Lord. Wherefore it is said, even as Nimrod, the mighty hunter before the Lord, and the beginning of his kingdom was Babel, and Erech, and Akkad, and Calneh, and the land of Shinar. Out of that land went forth Asher, and builded Nineveh, and the city Rehoboth, and Calah, and Rezin between Nineveh and Calah. The same is a great city. And Mizraim begat Ludum, and Anemim, and Lehabin, and Nephatuim, and Pathruism, and Kaluhim, out of whom came Philistim, and Kephtorim, and Canaan begat Sidon, his firstborn, and Heth. All right, and then fast forward. These are the sons of Ham, and their families, and their tongues, in their countries, and in their nations. Unto Shem also, the father of all children of Eber, the brother of Japheth, the elder, even to him were children born. The children of Shem, Elam, Asher, Arphaxad, and Lud, and Aram, and the children of Aram, Uz. All right, they're just going with names. These are the sons of Shem, and their families, and their tongues, and their lands after their nations. These are the families of the sons of Noah, and their generations, and their nations, and by these were the nations divided in the earth after the flood. So We are all naked. We are all flawed. There's no human being. If you try to put a halo around your head while you're on earth, it'll fall off and it'll choke you. So just remember that you are a human being and know that we have a day ahead. And rather than try to get achievements and success and set goals, it's like, all right, we've got time literally today. And so if you were to look back at your past self and put yourself through in his shoes and look at life through his eyes, what would you hope to see of your current self? And then likewise with your eventual future self, old age, if you were to look back, what would you want to see? What would you hope to see of yourself? So rather than set these weird goals up and try to compete and then develop envy and resentment and things like that, let's go to heaven. Let's rather than try to fend off hell and try to find escape, we could go to heaven today. We could build heaven today. And so the question is, what do they do in heaven? What could we do with our time? What's the best way to perceive this life? What is a way that we could live that would please our past self, our future self, and God? There is a day ahead.